What is up, everyone? We are back from WSOP Calgary. It was a really fun trip. Got to meet a bunch of pretty cool people out there. Had some beers, played in a cash game with some subscribers. Shout out Mike. Met this guy, you might recognise him from YouTube.
What's up, you Irish donkeys? It's Greg Goes All In here.
Greg here, trying to turn him into an alcoholic.
Exactly. He's trying to reduce the already non-existent edge that I have by providing me some libation. So big shout out to Jay from Irish Poker. Thank you very much.
We're in the 1-3 streets, drinking,
see you
gambling.
50 cent streets at the home game sometime, yeah?
Cheers, man.
We live in the same city. It's very cool.
That was Greg Goes All In. If you haven't seen his stuff, check it out. He puts out some very funny poker videos and sketches. I'd highly recommend checking them out. So overall, it was a really good trip. Poker-wise, wasn't great. And there was a lot of issues out in Calgary. Just how the event was organised and ran was really poor. There was a lot of complaints from players. I'll speak about that at the end of the video so we can dive straight into the hands. So, not too many hands today. This was late on the night I flew in. I had the monster stack at 11 AM the next morning. Took a while to get into the game. We'll speak about that at the end of the video. So this game is a 5-5 game. We're in for $1,000. First hand, the hijack opens to 20. I 3-bet the button with King 10 of clubs to $70. He calls. We go heads up to a flop. Comes down Ace Queen 3 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. So we flop a good shot here. Not too much else going on, but on a board like this where we're going to have such a big range advantage, he's going to have a lot of pocket pairs that are below the queen. So we're going to fire out a bet here. We're going to generate a lot of folds. We see bet $50. Don't need to go too big. It's just slightly less than 1/3 pot, and he sends them into the muck. So not really too interesting of a hand, but just showing you how the session started. It wasn't too long of a session. And to keep you ticking over till the main event vlog comes out, and you want to check that out. Hint, there might have been multiple bullets fired. There was a lot of wild hands. It was a pretty sick main event, so you'll definitely want to check that out. So the next interesting hand, I think we actually made a couple of mistakes in this hand. The 10 straddle is on, and we open King Queen off to 30 in middle position. The small blind 3-bets to $125, so 4x, which would be pretty standard out of the small. But then the big blind decides to come along, so he cold calls to 3-bet. So in game, I thought, oh, I'm priced in now and I'm going to be in position. I'm probably going to have to call. But I think King Queen off isn't going to perform well against these two players. I think we can be dominated a decent bit by Ace Queen and Ace King, so I think if we had King Queen suited, it's probably an auto defend. I think if we are to play this hand, I don't mind mixing in some 4-bets sometimes, because if the small blind just has a hand like Ace 10, Ace Jack, Ace 5 suited, he's just going to fold these hands to a 4-bet. And if we get it through, we pick down $250 without even having to see a flop. It also puts the big blind in a pretty tough spot if he just flat a hand like 10s, jacks, or Ace Queen. We also have some good blockers to Ace King, Kings, Queens, Ace Queen. So it actually probably makes a decent candidate for a 4-bet. But in game, we made a mistake. We end up just calling and coming along for the ride. The flop comes down Queen Jack 8 with 2 hearts. The small blind continues for 150. And then the big blind decides to raise to 400. So we're in a pretty awkward spot here. We did flop top pair, but given how the action has went, especially with big blind being able to have a lot of pocket jacks in his range, it's unusual to see him raise, but I think he could just have flopped a set. And given the fact that small blind can still have aces and kings and a bunch of hands that beat us, I think we're just going to have to make the fold. Yeah, it sucks folding top pair in a 3-bet pot, but I think in the long run, we're not going to be good enough here versus a bet and a raise. The small blind's range is still uncapped. The big blind can certainly have a set of jacks. He might even be raising Ace Queen if he doesn't realise that he shouldn't. So we're just going to make the tie fold, even though it pains us to do so. So next hand, there's a tenor straddle on under the gun. We open Ace Queen off to $30. The small blind calls and the big blind calls. So we're heading 3 ways to a flop. There's 100 in the middle and it comes down Ace of clubs, 10 of clubs, 7 of hearts. So we flop top pair, pretty good kicker. Though there's a lot of draws out here on this board, and from what I've seen of the players in the blinds, they've tended to be really sticky so far. So we're just going to go with a pretty big size and start getting value here for our Ace Queen. We bet $80. The small blind folds and the big blind calls. One heads up to a turn now, and it comes a pretty bad one. It comes to King of clubs, completing the flush. Queen Jack now gets there as a straight. So after he checks to us, I think we could bet again sometimes. I would be more comfortable betting if I had a club in my hand. So I think this combo here, we can check back and go for some value on the river if he checks, and we also allow him to fire off some bluffs on the river. So I think we're going to go for a check back on the turn and see what comes on the river. River now comes to 3 of diamonds, a complete brick. If he bets, we're just going to call. He'll have enough bluffs. And if he checks, we're going to go for some value. If he checks, we're very comfortable now that we have the best hand. So he checks to us and we fire out a bet of $150. He sends his cards into the muck pretty quickly, so probably just had a 10, I would expect. If he had some sort of misdraw, if he had like 8-9, he would have went for a bluff on the river. So taking down another. In this next hand, we're doing a round of straddles to 10. The button opens to $30 and we look down at ace jack of clubs in the straddle. I think we can go two ways with this hand here. I think we can 3-bet or just flat. I think the benefits in flatting over 3-betting is that we do keep in a lot of worse hands. So say he opens a hand like ace 8 off on the button, we defend. When it comes to ace high, he's going to lose some money to us. It's a similar situation like if we had a hand like king queen suited. I like just defending those hands versus late position opens in the big blind, and 3-betting a worse hand like say king 8 suited, king 9 suited, just for the reasons that we keep in the worst king X, and it goes the opposite way when we have say king 9 suited. We fold a hand like king 10 off, king jack off, so we fold a hand that has us dominated. So that's kind of my strategy when it comes to 3-betting the big blind. I like to flat some of the hands that can keep in worse, and then 3-bet some of the worse hands that can fold out better, and then obviously be 3-betting our stronger hands, etc. Comes down 6 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 4 clubs. So we've 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. A board that should favour the big blind more than the button, but as he is on the button, he will connect with this still pretty well. I check it over to him and he fires out a bet of $30. Don't think we're going to be going anywhere here. We have 2 overs that we can hit, an ace or a jack, or we can turn a club to make a flush draw. So we're going to call and see what develops on the turn. Turn now comes the 9 of diamonds. We check it over to him again and he fires out a bet of $75. I think we're just going to have to fold this one now. He does have a lot of pairs and stuff on this board. We've only ace high. I think he can also blast off some rivers. We're going to be put in a tough spot if we call and then he bets on the river if we don't hit an ace or a jack. So happy to just let this one go and move on to the next hand. Think we made another mistake in this next hand. The double straddle to 20 is on. We look down at king queen off on the button and raise it up to $55. The double straddler calls and we go heads up to a flop. Flop comes down ace king 5 rainbow, so we flop second pair, pretty decent kicker. I think this is a board we just continue with our entire range for a small sizing. We bet $30 and he check raises us to 60, so min check raise. Pretty weird. The player's obviously a recreational player. Usually you see them do this with like a hand, they're like, oh, I need to find out where I'm at. But given the price, given that we have second pair, we can hit some 2 pairs on the turn, we can make trips. We're not going to be folding just yet. Turn now comes in off to 4 and he checks. So interesting here, what do we do? I think we just check it back. He can certainly have an ace. He can certainly just have some weird stuff that he just check raised to find out where he was. The river now comes another 5 pair on the board and he bets out $55. Really small bet. Don't think we can fold for this sizing, but I don't know how often we're good here because I just don't think this player ever bluffs with a small sizing, so maybe we could just let it go. He ends up showing down ace 6 off, so we probably got a bit stationary there on the river, but not sure if we can fold for that small of a price, but maybe we can because this guy just isn't bluffing this spot and he's probably not doing it with a worse hand. Maybe we could raise our hand as a bluff, but against this player he probably doesn't fold, especially considering all aces are chopping. So I think we're going to wrap up the session now. We're pretty tired. We've been flying all day. I don't think we're playing our best, so we're going to go get some rest. I'll see you now at the outro. Final results for the session where we were in the game for $1,000, out for $13.85 for a small profit of $385. Didn't really play a long session. The lists for the cash games were crazy. That was one of the massive issues. A problem lots of players had out at the Calgary event. So there was thousands of players out for the main. It was really busy, and a lot of the times they had like the 9 tables in their poker room full and a bunch of empty tables. They wouldn't open new tables because they said they hadn't enough dealers, which seems crazy to me. For an event of that magnitude, to not have enough dealers is outrageous. Like there was multiple times lists were over 100 people long and there's empty tables and they're just not running cash. Most cash tables I've probably seen running at one time was like 11, when they easily could have had 40, 50 tables even going. Like one of the nights I waited 4 hours just to get into a cash game, which is just shocking. I nearly went to another casino because of it, which is not ideal when you flew from Vancouver out to play this event. Also, because of the lack of dealers, every day there was a massive queue of alternates, people queuing 2 and 3 hours just to get a seat in the tournaments, which is just not on for tournament of that scale. The prize pool could have been way bigger had they have just got the adequate amount of staff, and this was a common issue all weekend. Like, there was way too much time wasted sitting in the casino waiting to get into a game. I played at other festivals before where, like, the main festival I played the most is the Irish Open, obviously because I'm from there, and there was one year they had 90 cash tables running. You're never waiting on a list to get in a game. If you want to jump into a 1-2 or 2-5, you're just in a game like that. There's so many tables. That definitely ruined the experience a bit, but what I must say is, though, everyone I met out there was really nice, had some good crack with people, had a couple of beers with some people who've seen the channel. On that end, it was really good. The Canadian poker scene is definitely booming. There were so many players out there, lots of nice, friendly people, which is always a plus. It was just let down by really bad organisation. I don't know if that's on the casino end or on the WSOPC Poker end, because it's one of their circuit events. I don't know who that falls on. That's definitely an issue that needs to be resolved. So thanks for tuning in. If you made it all the way here, the main event vlog will be coming ASAP. There's just a lot more editing involved. You're definitely going to want to check it out. It's a massive main event. There was over 2 million in the prize pools. Thanks for tuning in as usual. If you haven't subscribed already, please click the button below. Really helps out the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.